And we're back to learning CSS. Let us talk about the basic structure, the basic syntax of using this language and the basic selectors. Here we have an example from our last video. Our selector is the h1 and this is simply an element selector, or you could also say a tag selector. It selects the h1 tag in the HTML and then applies what is called a property, in this case color, to what's inside of this tag. So this is a test, will be colored, in our case red. Red is the value of the property color. Same goes for the background color, which would be another property. For the h1 selector, the value is green. Let us add a paragraph. This is a second test. It gets the default styling. If we now wanted to select this in CSS, we use the element selector P for paragraph, curly brackets. Inside we add a property. For color maybe, we'll set the value to blue. And there you go, the color was now changed to blue. Same goes for any other property, background minus color. We'll set it to yellow. We'll have a yellow background. So this is always the same structure, selector, curly brackets, property, and then give it a value. When it comes to selectors though, we can use quite a lot. For example, we could directly use the body selector. So body, in this case also an element. We'll set the background color to red. And now our entire website background would be red, as the body is everything that we can see, at least in the browser window. There's also a universal selector, which is the star, this asterisk. And if we use that and, for example, add a property of font family Verdana, everything that is written now is now written in this font. So this asterisk, it affects all elements on your website. But that's not all. We can also target specific classes and IDs. So let's say we have a second paragraph, but we don't want to have the same style here. We don't want it to be with a yellow background and a bluish color. So for example, we could give it a class and let us pick a different color. We'll just call it black. This doesn't make the paragraph black, as it's just a class, but we can now use this class as a selector in our CSS. And to do that, you have to add a dot before it. So dot black would select the class black in the HTML. In our case, this paragraph, this is a third test. I've written text instead of test, but you get the idea. So this paragraph is a third text, has now the class black. And you can see our second paragraph now still has a blue color thanks to the P selector, the simple element selector. But the class selector for dot black, it has overwritten the background color. So the P selector background color is yellow, but for our black class, it's going to be black. Let us add a second class selector, dot gray, background minus color gray, and this turns the yellowish background color grayish. Don't forget to save both, so the HTML and the CSS, and then if you refresh it, you should see the result. Same way it works for IDs. So let us add yet another paragraph. I'll make that ID, instead of having a bluish color, I want this to be green. So we'll make this is a fourth test, and we have the default styling from the element selector, the P, bluish color, yellow background. And now the ID, I set it to maybe green text. Now we can select this in the CSS. And to do that, we need not the dot in front of it, but the hashtag. So dot is a class selector, hashtag is an ID selector in CSS. But it works the same way. We now add our property, color, set its value to green. We'll save and refresh. And there you go. This still has a yellow background color from the piece selector, but now a green text color from our ID selector. There are more complex selectors. I'm going to talk about them as we proceed in the CSS playlist, but these are the basic ones, the simple ones. And if you've got them memorized and you understand them, you're certainly on your way to understanding CSS fully.